90 days, 90 reasons. Reason number 53. If Mitt Romney is elected, insurance companies will continue to discriminate against Americans with pre-existing conditions. Charles C. Mann is the author and co-author of 7 books, including 1491 and 1493. He is now working on a book about the future that makes no predictions. Okay. I'm going to vote for Obama out of naked personal self-interest. 4 years ago, my daughter Emilia got a bone infection in her hip. We didn't know how she got it, but the story we tell ourselves is she took a hard tumble in her gymnastics lesson. As I know now, almost every time you fall hard, you break a bone, microfractures, and one of Emilia's doctors called them. Usually these minute breaks heal without incident within a few hours, but in rare unlucky circumstances, a bacterium can swim into the fracture, which then closes behind it. Hidden inside, the organism happily eats away at the bone. The first sign of infection, commonly enough, is when the bone collapses, flushing the body with infected splinters. Anaphylactic shock is followed by death. In Emilia's case, the infection was close enough to the surface that pus leaked out into the space between the ball and socket of her hip. The result was tremendous pain. We rushed her to an emergency room in Springfield, Massachusetts, half an hour from where we lived. There was a surgeon who opened her hip and scraped out the infection. She spent 9 days in the Springfield hospital and came home with a box around her neck that pumped antibiotics into her arm. Unfortunately, the infection and surgery had damaged her femur. The weakened bone began to crumble. It got harder and harder to walk. She was in constant pain. She was in the hospital a lot, and eventually she was on morphine 24/7. I'll spare the details because it's pretty bad. Because Emilia's case was unusual and difficult, we ended up going to 5 different hospitals in 3 states. We spent a lot of time with doctors, nurses, and medical technicians. You know, they would tell us whatever happens to your daughter's hip, she'll be a prisoner of Massachusetts for the rest of her life. She's going to have a whopper of a pre-existing condition, they said, and in your home state, thanks to Mitt Romney, the only place in the country where she can be sure of obtaining health care. No economist has ever studied how many people with pre-existing conditions are turned down for insurance because insurance companies won't release the data. But Congress demanded the rejection numbers for the 4 biggest firms in 2010. During the previous 3 years, they had rejected 1 out of every 7 individual applicants, a number that does not include people who were discouraged even from applying. I do not need a study to fear for my daughter. 20-some years ago, my father switched jobs. He lost the insurance from his first job, and we had to wait several months for his new insurance to kick in. While he was waiting, he had a stroke. In an instant, my father acquired a pre-existing condition, and his new insurance would not cover it. He couldn't get health insurance that applied to cardiovascular disease no matter where he looked. And for years, my parents lived in terror of my father getting some stroke-related ailment that would bankrupt him. In Emilia's case, we finally found a hospital that would treat her. A month after her 13th birthday, she got an artificial hip. Today, she is fully recovered, but like the doctor said, she has a whopper of a pre-existing condition. Before her surgery, though, Congress passed the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, which means that she won't have to go through what my parents went through. My daughter can live anywhere within the borders of our great country, or will be able to after 2014. Romney is running on a program that, as far as I can tell, will result in re-imprisoning Emilia. He says he wants to repeal and replace Obamacare with a package of reforms that will nibble away at the problem of pre-existing conditions without an outright bar to insurers. I'm skeptical. An earlier piecemeal reform, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, has completely failed to address the problem, as that 1 in 7 figure shows. In any case, so many Republicans are committed to eliminating every vestige of healthcare reform that I don't believe even the modest ideas would be enacted. I want my daughter to be able to live wherever she wants. So I'm voting for Obama. Charles Mann, North Amherst, Massachusetts. 90 days, 90 reasons. Reason number 53.